Hello and welcome to the 13th chapter of our training series. In this segment, we'll delve into how to use the information and insights that we glean from implementation research and explore methods to enhance the quality of implementation research based on our findings. After this chapter, you should be able to describe learning evaluation cycle approaches for improving implementation processes within and across organizations. Describe the iterative process of the Plan Do Study Act, PDSA, cycle, and how to use it to improve the quality of implementation processes and facilitate uptake of their findings. Provide illustrative examples of how iterative PDSAs were used to facilitate the scale-up of evidence-informed interventions in Ghana. And understand the role of key leaderships and other innovation determinants spread within and across organizations. At its core, implementation research is dynamic and adaptive. It is an ongoing process that requires the continuous feedback of results to the team and other stakeholders in order to address immediate implementation problems and facilitate adaptations to the intervention as needed. Implementation research results should also guide broader and long-term learning and actions. This includes scaling up and integrating effective interventions into existing systems, institutionalizing effective implementation processes and best practices, and undertaking other measures to translate implementation research evidence into policy. Implementation strategies are needed to facilitate the use of implementation research results both in the short and long term, and the process of translating these results to both short and long-term actions can be studied as implementation research with well-defined implementation outcomes linked to impact measures. To illustrate the importance of continuous and iterative learning in enhancing implementation processes, let's examine its application in facilitating the scale-up of evidence-informed interventions, a primary focus within implementation research. Frameworks such as the Framework for Going to Scale Up, which we looked at in the previous chapter, offer guidance on how to design and implement large-scale evidence-informed improvement efforts. Within this context, improvement, or more precisely quality improvement, hinges on two fundamental components: change, termed as improvement, and methods, comprising techniques and tools for gauging change. Improvement, as defined, revolves around embracing change and action, derived from practical experience within complex health systems. It often entails establishing performance benchmarks, referred to as threshold for action, and continually devising and trialing approaches to meet these benchmarks over time. Returning to the example of scaling up evidence-informed interventions, it's important to note the sequential phases involved in this process. The Framework for Going to Scale Up outlines 4 key phases: setup, development of the scalable unit, testing scale-up, and full-scale implementation. It's evident from the figure depicted that these phases are not necessarily linear. Instead, they may exhibit a more organic and interactive nature. For instance, feedback from a subsequent phase may influence and adjust preceding phases, thereby creating balancing or reinforcing loops. These dynamic interactions represent key features of complex adaptive systems. Several scientific methods can be deployed to achieve the aims under each of these scale-up phases. Because the phases are looped in a system, it is important to have an adaptive learning design that supports the systems and allows them to learn, change, and improve the intervention in each of the phases in an agile manner. Examples of such adaptive learning designs include the learning evaluation cycle, which involves the use of systematic methods and tools to address critical bottlenecks at various implementation stages of health interventions, and feeding back the lessons learned to stakeholders in real time. Most adaptive learning designs, including the learning evaluation cycle, use quality improvement approaches as the engine for learning and change. Quality improvement approaches include the use of small, rapid tests of change in real time and time series data for internal learning and monitoring process of change. In short, quality improvement provides the mechanism by which a key principle of implementation research is operationalized to support local practice change, and such implementation processes in turn provide theories to inform implementation and evaluation to produce generalizable knowledge. The model of improvement is one of the quality improvement approaches that could be applied in each of the phases of the scaling process to continuously monitor improvement. It requires a collaborative team to determine specific outcomes, guided by the following questions. What are we trying to accomplish? The aim? How will we know that a change is an improvement? The measures? And what changes can we make that will result in improvement? The changes needed. The model of improvement has 4 critical elements. It is focused on specific and measurable aims. It includes measures of improvement that are tracked over time. It identifies fundamental changes that will result in the desired improvement. It involves a series of testing cycles, during which teams learn how to apply key change ideas to their organizations. These small cycles of testing changes involve planning, doing, studying, acting, PDSA, before returning to planning, and so on. The PDSA cycle typically encompasses several steps. Initially, it involves identifying a quality gap within a healthcare service. Subsequently, a plan is devised to address this identified gap. The plan is then tested through hypotheses to determine its potential success or failure. If successful, the plan is implemented. To assess the impact of each change, quality improvement tools such as control charts are commonly utilized. Additionally, supplementary tools such as the Ishikawa fishbone diagram and the Pareto chart are employed for analyzing the root causes underlying the quality gap. The Ishikawa diagram aids in identifying the various factors contributing to the problem, while the Pareto chart helps in understanding the frequency of these contributory causes. In the context of the framework for going to scale up, the Plan, Do, Study, Act cycle serves as a valuable tool for acquiring insights into the process of scaling up health interventions. It plays a crucial role in enhancing quality improvement and other implementation strategies. The PDSA cycle enables the systematic testing and adaptation of change initiatives to suit the specific requirements of the local context throughout the scaling up process. Let's take a moment to look at improving implementation processes at multi-center level. The learning evaluation cycle can be used for improving implementation processes, for implementation research, for either a single implementing organization or multiple organizations. In a multi-organizational setting, the Plan, Do, Study, Act cycle holds significant importance. This is due to the coordination required for implementation processes across multiple organizations, which often leads to the need for contextual adjustments. Moreover, interactions among these organizations introduce additional feedback loops, complementing those within each organization's implementation phases. This heightened complexity creates an even more compelling reason for the application of a learning evaluation cycle to enhance continuous improvement. In such scenarios, there are broader principles to learning evaluation that may apply, including gathering data to describe changes made by organizations and how changes are implemented, collecting process and outcome data relevant to organizations and the research team, assessing multilevel contextual factors that affect implementation, process, outcome, and transportability of results across organizations. Assisting healthcare organizations in using data for continuous quality improvement within and across organizations. Operationalizing common measurement strategies to generate transportable results from the continuous quality improvement study and synthesizing learnings across organizations. Key implementation strategies for providing feedback from the PDSA cycles include convening learning meetings involving key stakeholders within organizations and representatives from various organizations. These gatherings facilitate the prompt dissemination of findings and the development of additional problem analyses. Formulating actionable plans based on the findings, such as practice guidelines. These guidelines are designed to be readily embraced by key actors involved in the pertinent implementation processes. Securing leadership support and resources for implementing actions both within individual organizations and across the collaborative network. The role of supportive leadership in implementing change is crucial within and across organizations, and is often needed for creating the right environment for implementing change by convening relevant stakeholders within and across organizations. These stakeholders may represent a diverse range of entities, such as academic institutions, government agencies, and community organizations, depending on the specific implementation processes at hand. The type and style of leadership required may vary depending on the nature of the organization involved. It is, therefore, important to assess the existing leadership structure and develop strategies to leverage these arrangements effectively. This entails utilizing both formal and informal channels to harness evidence from implementation research for driving positive change. In conclusion, the approaches and principles described in this video play an essential role in facilitating implementation research by continuously generating, discussing, and translating real-time insights into evolving implementation processes. The Learning Evaluation Cycle, Model for Improvement, Plan Do Study Act cycle, and broader learning evaluation principles are integral to implementation research. They focus on both intra-organizational and inter-organizational dynamics, considering organizations as both implementers and targets for action within the implementation process. These methodologies foster a coherent connection between collaborative participants and organizations, aiding in their improvement efforts and the reaching of implementation goals. There is a reciprocal relationship between quality improvement and implementation research that can be enhanced to facilitate research and learning evaluation on implementation processes. While quality improvement seeks to achieve measurable change, implementation research deals with incorporating evidence into practice using specific tools, methods, frameworks, and study designs, and both can be used harmoniously to achieve health goals within a local setting, through improvements to the implementation process. That's it for this chapter on how to use the information gleaned through implementation research. Before you go, take a moment to consolidate what you have learnt by putting it into practice. Download this chapter's supporting resource material and complete the activity there. Once you have completed the activity, please join us for Chapter 14, where we will talk about how to translate implementation research results into policy and action.